Listen and watch closely. Why fans believe there's more to Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards' story. In the ever-watchful world of showbiz, actions often speak louder than words. And when it comes to Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards, fans are once again paying very close attention, not just to what is being said, but to what is being shown. Makinig at manuod pagkayo. Hindi naman ito gagawin and I main kang hindi todo. Listen and watch closely. Maine wouldn't do this if it wasn't real. This powerful sentiment, now circulating across social media, reflects a growing belief among supporters that certain gestures, interactions, or moments between the two are too meaningful to be dismissed as coincidence. Reading between the lines. For years, the connection between Alden and Maine has been analyzed not just through interviews, but through subtle details, body language, timing, shared glances, and even silence. Fans argue that there are moments that feel too genuine to be scripted. A look that lingers longer than expected. A reaction that seems unguarded. A gesture that carries emotional weight. To casual viewers, these may seem insignificant. But to longtime supporters who have followed their journey from the very beginning, these details tell a deeper story. They believe you don't act that way unless something real exists beneath the surface. The power of authenticity. What made Alden and Maine stand out in the first place was authenticity. Their chemistry didn't feel forced. It felt natural, almost accidental. That authenticity is what built trust with their audience. And now, years later, fans are still holding on to that same belief. When Maine does something that appears thoughtful or emotionally driven toward Alden, supporters see it as consistent with who she has always been, genuine, careful, and not one to pretend for the sake of appearances. This is why the statement resonates so strongly. Maine wouldn't do something like that if it wasn't real. Actions over silence. Despite the lack of direct confirmation about the nature of their current relationship, certain actions continue to spark conversation. Supporters point out that while words can be controlled and statements can be crafted, spontaneous actions are harder to fake. These unscripted moments become the foundation of fan interpretations. And in the absence of clear explanations, people naturally rely on what they can observe. For many, watching closely has become a way of understanding what is left unsaid. Divided interpretations. Of course, not everyone sees things the same way. Some believe that these moments are simply friendly gestures between two individuals who once shared a strong professional bond. Others see them as evidence of something deeper, an ongoing connection that hasn't fully disappeared. This divide is what keeps the conversation alive. But regardless of interpretation, one thing is certain. People are still watching, and they are still invested. The weight of every move. For Alden and Maine, even the smallest action can carry enormous meaning in the eyes of the public. A simple interaction can trend. A brief moment can be replayed, analyzed, and discussed across platforms. This level of attention is both a blessing and a challenge. It speaks to the impact they've had, but it also means that nothing goes unnoticed. The unspoken narrative. What makes this situation compelling is not what has been confirmed, but what remains unspoken. There is a story that fans feel is still unfolding. One that doesn't rely on grand announcements, but on quiet moments and subtle signals. And for many supporters, the message is clear. If you listen carefully, if you watch closely, you might just understand. A story still being written. Whether these observations reflect something deeper or simply the enduring connection between two former partners, one truth remains. The story of Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards continues to captivate. Not because of loud declarations, but because of quiet possibilities. Not because everything is clear, but because so much is left open to interpretation. And perhaps that is why fans remain so engaged, because in every glance, every action, every unexplained moment, there is the feeling that something real might still exist. In the end, people will continue to watch. They will continue to listen. And until the truth is clearly spoken, they will continue to believe that sometimes actions reveal more than words ever could. The psychology behind watching closely. The phrase makinig at manuod is more than just a suggestion. It reflects a deeper psychological behavior among fans. When people feel emotionally connected to a story, they begin to observe it more carefully, almost like detectives searching for meaning in every detail. In the case of Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards, this behavior has evolved over years. Fans have learned their mannerisms, their expressions, even the way they react under pressure. This familiarity creates a sense of confidence among supporters. They feel they know when something is genuine and when it is not. So when someone says, Maine wouldn't do that if it wasn't true, it is rooted in years of observation and emotional investment. A history that cannot be ignored. To understand why every action is magnified today, one must revisit the foundation of their partnership. Their story was built on spontaneity, moments that were not planned, reactions that were not rehearsed. That authenticity created a rare kind of trust. Fans didn't just watch them, they believed in them. And belief, once established, doesn't easily disappear. Even as time passes and circumstances change, that belief remains quietly present, waiting for something, anything, that might confirm it was not misplaced. The language of subtle gestures. In a world where public figures are trained to speak carefully, subtle gestures often become the most honest form of expression. A smile that appears at the right moment. A reaction that seems instinctive rather than calculated. A level of comfort that cannot easily be faked. Supporters argue that these are the moments that matter most. Because, while statements can be scripted, authenticity often reveals itself unintentionally. For fans who have followed Alden and Maine closely, these small details are not random, they are meaningful. The role of silence in fueling belief. Silence can be powerful, but it can also be ambiguous. When there is no clear explanation, people naturally fill in the gaps with their own interpretations. In this case, silence has not diminished interest. It has intensified it. Every unanswered question becomes an invitation for speculation. Every unclear moment becomes a topic of discussion. And within that silence, belief continues to grow. For some, the absence of denial is seen as confirmation. For others, it is simply respect for privacy. But regardless of perspective, silence keeps the narrative alive. A connection that transcends time. One of the most fascinating aspects of Alden and Maine's story is its longevity. Many love teams fade as quickly as they rise. But theirs is different. Even after years, the connection still sparks conversations, trends online, and captures attention. Why? Because it was never just about the present moment. It was about what people felt while watching them. And feelings, especially strong ones, don't simply disappear with time. They linger. They evolve. And sometimes they resurface when triggered by something familiar. The power of hope in fandom. At the heart of this ongoing narrative is hope. Hope that what once felt real might still exist. Hope that the connection was not just a moment, but something lasting. Hope that one day everything will make sense. Hope is a powerful force. It keeps fans engaged. It keeps conversations alive. It turns ordinary moments into meaningful signals. And in this case, hope is sustained by the belief that actions speak louder than words. Different perspectives, one shared fascination. It is important to recognize that not all fans interpret things the same way. Some view the situation realistically, believing that both Alden and Maine have moved forward with their lives and careers. They see any interaction as a sign of mutual respect and nothing more. Others, however, remain convinced that there is an underlying connection, something unspoken but still present. These differing perspectives do not weaken the narrative, they strengthen it. They create discussions, debates, and continuous engagement. Because in the end, both sides share one thing in common. They care. The burden of meaning. For Alden and Maine, every action carries weight, whether intentional or not. A simple gesture can become a headline. A brief interaction can become a trending topic. A quiet moment can become a viral clip. This level of scrutiny is not easy to navigate. It means living in a space where even the most natural behavior can be interpreted in countless ways. And yet, despite this pressure, certain moments still manage to feel genuine, raw, unfiltered, and real. Why fans continue to believe. Belief is not always based on logic. Sometimes it is based on feeling. Fans who continue to believe in the connection between Alden and Maine are not necessarily ignoring reality. Instead, they are holding on to something that once felt undeniably real. And when new moments seem to reflect that same authenticity, it reinforces their belief. It becomes a cycle. Observation, interpretation, reinforce belief. And with each cycle, the conviction grows stronger. The unfinished story. What makes this narrative so compelling is that it feels unfinished. There is no clear ending, no definitive statement, no final chapter, just moments, scattered, subtle, and open to interpretation. And as long as the story feels incomplete, people will continue to follow it. They will continue to watch closely. They will continue to listen carefully. They will continue to search for meaning. The possibility of clarity. At some point, clarity may come. It could arrive through a statement, an interview, or a simple acknowledgement. And when it does, it will either confirm what fans believe or gently guide them toward acceptance. But until that moment arrives, the narrative remains open. And in that openness lies its power. A story that lives beyond words. In the end, the story of Maine Mendoza and Alden Richards is no longer just about what is said. It is about what is seen, what is felt, what is believed. Because sometimes the strongest stories are not the ones that are clearly told, but the ones that are quietly understood. And so fans will continue to do what they have always done. They will watch, they will listen, and they will believe that in the smallest actions, the biggest truths are often revealed.